Good morning. Let me know if I'm not loud enough or if the music is too loud. I did a surprise stream last Friday and was trying out some stuff and it didn't work out the way I wanted, but that's okay. So I got to figure out some more of that technical stuff. So, good morning. It's Thursday and we are here for another installment of our Craft and Chill. And this is our build along. We are building the shield. I'm getting better at it, y'all. The shield that's down here, we're going to be making it out of EVA foam. Good morning, Karsten. Karsten. Trying to incorporate the dinosaur sound in there to the best of my ability. Yeah, so last week we cut everything out. So we cut out our shield, our base shield. We cut out the plastic piece for the window. We cut out our support strips. And we used our heat gun to seal the top so it's shiny, and which means it's ready to be painted. But before we paint it, we're going to attach our supports and our straps so we don't have to worry about that afterwards. So, clear me out a little space now. So I've got our handy dandy contact cement. I like the dab weldwood, which is why I've got a big container of it. And using my new favorite, silicone brushes, because cleanup is super easy. So, got that. Got our scissors. All our supplies, or the majority of our supplies, come from TNT Cosplay Supply for this particular project. And this is the straps, the webbing that we'll be using on the back. So we're going to do our reinforcements first. And then once we've got the reinforcements in place, then we'll put the straps in. So this is the front of our shield because it's shiny. You flip it over to the back. You can see that it doesn't have that same texture to it because we did not heat shrink the back because we're not going to heat it. So the first thing I want to do is put some reinforcement here. Now, the plan is to use foam to reinforce it. It may not be strong enough, and we may have to get some PVC pipe in here. So we'll see what happens. But the current plan is that this should be enough that we can sort of frame it out like so. So we'll see. Those big 40K armor cosplays that you see, the majority of time those are foam with PVC skeletons underneath them, or PETG skeletons underneath them, to give them support and shape so they don't get floppy. So we might have to take a page from that book, which may or may not make us heretics. I'm unclear. But for starters, we'll go ahead and reinforce these sides with some more foam. All right, so what I'm going to do is going to put our contact cement on the back side of the support, the strut, and then we'll place it down where we want it to be so we can get a little bit of transfer. and then go back and put additional contact cement on there so it gets a nice strong bond. Here we go. So we've got the whole back side of this first strut covered in our contact cement. And the way that contact cement works, or this particular contact cement, is that you get both sides with the adhesive on it, let it get a little sticky, and then that's what secures the bond. So decide where we want this to go. Right about here looks good. And once we've got, I'm basically marking where I want the glue to go. And then flip it back over and use that basically as an outline. So put some more adhesive down so it'll make a nice strong bond. There we go. So while that's drying a little bit, because we don't want it to dry completely, we're going to flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. And by the time we finish putting our adhesive on the second strut for the back side, or the far side, I guess, it'll be ready to flip those two pieces over. So they'll have a nice strong connection, just like we do. Happy Monday, Thursday, Kinder Mage. How is your morning so far? Well, extra long weekends are always a nice thing. to have, especially if it's your normal extra long weekend, or if it's just your start of your 2 days off. I've definitely had that job where your weekend is the middle of the week because it's just the 2 days that you get off in a row. Oh, that's not really a weekend. That's more like a nap. Well, thank you for come hanging out on your day off. Appreciate it. I hear that. All right. Here we go. First one is down. So we'll flip this back around here. Oh my goodness. So big. Yes, working with power tools and sharp objects while overly tired, not recommended. That's how you end up drinking your paint water. Yeah, especially when you're doing like fancy detail work or something that you want to get just right. Um, this is why I'm a morning person, if you couldn't tell, and have always been a morning person. So the later at night it gets, the worse my crafts get. Well, that's how you know it's been lived in. When there's paint on the carpet. I've got greenhouse paint on my carpet in my craft room from the Marvin the Martian because I thought I had it covered with an old sheet, but it missed a spot. And the paint found the spot we missed. All right. So we're going to give this time to dry, and while we're doing so, going to cut, size and cut the sort of perpendicular supports. Well, and is it even really crafting if you don't get paint or something just on you somewhere? I can't make without getting some sort of food on me. I usually can't eat without getting some sort of food on me as well. And I definitely can't do any kind of crafting without some sort of paint or glue or something on me in a location that is less than desirable. The glue is still a little bit wet when I set down this one here. So I'm just using my bottles of gesso to add some extra pressure until it dries. So what I'm thinking is that we'll do 3 in this kind of style. So we'll put one across here on the top, one here and one here. And then our strap will go in this area. So we'll reinforce it after we put the strap on. Glitter is the ultimate sneaky craft item. I made a dress one time with glitter tulle, which is like the netting, like ballerina tutus have, that had glitter in it. And I had to take my I had to take my machine in for a super duper cleaning because I couldn't get the glitter out with my vacuum cleaner. So, Karsten, what are you working on that requires glitter on purpose? What's your crafting regret that requires glitter? Yes, I saw. It's very exciting. I too have been having fun learning about resin, although from y'all are making smaller like pieces, like jewelry and stuff like that. Yeah. Ooh, dominoes. That's exciting. Yeah, I learned my lesson trying to do decoupage comic book jewelry that is also not really where my passion lies in things to be made. I was thinking about some sewing weights though, made out of resin. And I have enjoyed using the Mayspring MEYSPRANG malachite powders and mixing that with resin for the test tubes. I really like the results with that. Speaking of glitters and shimmers. It has changed my life. The silicone brush has just been fantastic, especially working. So the paints haven't been as good. Um, and I'll play around with it a little bit more, but because it's just kind of moving the product around, which is what it's supposed to do. And so I feel like I can't get the coverage that I want as quickly as I want with a traditional chip brush. So, but with the glue, I'm not throwing away brushes anymore because they were ruined by the contact cement. It just, once it dries, I can just peel it off and it makes cleanup ridiculously easy and so exciting for me. Cleaning out your brushes is the worst, I think, because I'm ready to move on to whatever the next thing is. I don't want to take time to clean up afterwards because I'm 7. All right, so we've got our 3 sort of struts in place here. We'll let them dry. And while we're doing that, let's see if these pieces are better behaved now. Yeah, that's looking good. So I did not put glue on the ends, and I may regret that later, but I didn't. So we'll see. And it hasn't added a whole lot of weight to the shield, which is what we're trying to avoid, making it heavy with stuff that we're adding onto the back. So let's see. So for the straps, what I'm thinking is just regular shield style straps. So it's the kind that goes where you've got 2 straps, one at the wrist and one at the forearm kind of area. Now, originally I was just going to put just the webbing down, and I realized that you may want to adjust the strapping, and that would make it difficult if it's just straps. So I'm going to grab some buckles, and I will update the Geek Forge website with additional materials, because I didn't think about it at the beginning, and I'm thinking about it now. So let me grab some buckles. So I'm just going to use what I have on hand. Okay. Very scientific about this. I get impatient sometimes. The glue is still damp. It hasn't had a chance to dry out enough to be tacky yet. We could go back with like hot glue and make go along the seams for extra reinforcement. So that's definitely not a bad idea. All right, so I'm not gonna need these. So this is what I've got on hand. They're called parachute buckles, and they come in packs of 1 or 2. These are 3/4 inch. Let's see. These are also 3/4 inch. Looking to see if I had inch wide parachute buckles. Those are the easiest, just because you don't have to punch buttonholes or anything in them. So I have one that's an inch. That comes in the packet by itself. Let's see if I've got another one in my findings box. So all that jingling, I've got some large bells from another project, and I could only buy them in a pack of like 12, and I needed 2 or something. That's why I never throw anything away. Alright, looks like we've got the 3/4 inch, so we'll work with that. Alright. Oh, and I got these from, I think it was Joann's, but you could get them from any fabric supply store. Also places like Walmart would carry them. Anywhere that's got a sewing area is going to be your best bet. Also, you could get them online for sure. So, the way that these work is that this buckle will clip, and then you can tighten it as needed. So it will be 2 pieces of webbing that come together. So traditionally, these buckles are done in such a way that one side is like stable and the other side is adjustable. So we're going to be doing that. And these are 3/4 inch because that's what I have on hand. This webbing is 1 inch wide, so it would be much easier with 1 inch wide buckle. But since we need 2 and we're here, this is what we're working with. So it'll be one side like this, and then we'll put a piece of webbing on the other side as well. And so we will decide which side we want to be our anchor side, and then which side will be our adjustable side. And I have a plan for that as well. So, actually, this is what happens when I have to change my plans. I think we might be able to get away with using Velcro to make it a fully adjustable experience. So let me grab some Velcro and we'll see what we can engineer. All right, so I've got a big roll of black Velcro because I used it a lot. So yeah, I think that is going to be, that's going to be good. All right, so what we'll do is we will do a piece with the webbing here, and then we'll put Velcro on the other side so that you can pull the Velcro tight and adjust as needed, basically. So let's call it this long, and then I'll tell you how long that is. So this is a strip that is 2, 3, 4, 5 inches long. So I'm going to cut 2 5-inch long strips so that they will be the same length for both straps. All right. And then what we're gonna do before we do any sewing or gluing or anything like that, we're gonna finish the edges of the webbing. So, science and sewing. There are 2 primary materials that clothing are made out of. There's cotton and there's polyester. polyester, and then, I mean, there are blends and rayons and stuff, but those are the two primary things that make up the clothes that we wear. So, one of them burns and one of them melts. Cotton will burn because it's a natural fiber. Polyester melts because it has plastic in it. So the majority of the webbing that you see, especially like in the crafting stores, are polyester or polyester blends, which means that the ends, you can melt the ends instead of having to stitch them finished. So we're going to test it on our piece right here. So I've got a lighter and I've got my webbing. So I don't know how well y'all can see this. You see it's got this sort of frayed edge here, right? And now our frayed edge is now a solid, almost a solid piece because we've melted the plastics in the polyesters to create a neat edge. And you can see, I don't know if y'all can see that, the little bumps there on the edge are where the pieces have melted. And now it's not going to fray, it's not going to come apart. So when I'm working with webbing of any kind, that's the first thing I do. Excuse me. Now, if you are using like a belt from the Army surplus store, that is probably going to be more cotton than polyester, especially if it's an older belt. So if it feels slick, if it looks shiny, that's got polyester in it, or rayon, or some sort of plastic. And if it looks super matte, then that's most likely majority cotton. You can always test your fabrics by cutting a small piece and trying to set them on fire. So, you know, just fun normal sewing things. I do recommend that after you have melted ends, to set them off to the side to let them cool a little bit before putting them directly on projects. I definitely have not burned holes in projects because my melted ends weren't cool yet. I've never done that. And I've never cried about it. And then, just so we don't forget, I'm also going to melt the end of the roll that I cut. So when I come back later, I'm not mad that I've unraveled a 1/2 inch of material because I forgot to seal the end. And it's definitely something to do with adult supervision or someone resembling an adult, because fire is dangerous. Also, probably shouldn't use it while excessively tired. So we've sealed all our webbing edges now and learned how to set fabric on fire the safe and fun way. There are also materials, especially like theatrical curtains and children's sleepwear, that are treated with a flame retardant. So there are certain materials that you like can't make children's sleepwear out of because they don't match the United States national standards of safety and compliance. So, just a thing to think about. Most of the things that I work with are flammable in some capacity. Also, we wanted to make sure that our glue was way over here when we were setting fire things over here. No fireballs in the craft room today. But you never can tell. It's still early. All right. This is looking pretty good. We'll let that sit there for a little while longer. All right. So Now that our webbing pieces are cooled, I'm going to thread through the parachute buckle, and we'll make sure that they're going the same direction, because that would just be annoying as a person who is wearing it. So my plan is that we're going to take those 5 inches and basically bisect them. So it's about 2.5. It's probably 2.25, to be quite honest, because it has to go around the loop of the buckle. And we will do the same thing for the other buckle. So quick and easy way. So you get your 2 ends, line them up like so, and just pull it until it is straight in the bend. So now we have these 2 ready to go. So the next thing is the adjustable part with the Velcro. So the way that Velcro is sold, or hook and loop tape, if we're not using copyrighted terms. So this is also called hook and loop tape. So the hook part is the scratchy bit, and the loop part is the soft bit. So this is important because we have to understand what sides we're working with in order to get this to work. So I've done this once before, so I'm trying to go off of memory here. Yes, and copies are always Xeroxes, and so there's a couple. I just had to file a DCMA with a scam site that stole some images from my website, so I'm trying to be aware of copyright and trademark things as much as possible. All right. So, yes, okay. Sorry, doing math in my head. So what we need to determine is basically how long to make the straps. So we've got our buckles here. So they're gonna live right about here. And so when we go to put an arm underneath, they'll basically sit right on top of the arm, right? And we will attach these probably, we'll see. I might do another strip like so. I'm still figuring that part out. This is make as we go and learn as we go. So everyone's having a good time with that. All right, so I'm gonna hold a shield like this. Then measuring tape here. All right. Because the point is that you hold the shield, right? If you're gonna grip it. So you may or slide your arm all the way through, which is why we want it adjustable so that you can hold it however you please. All right, so we're gonna call that 4 inches. Let's call it 5, and then we can always trim it down if we need to. So what that means for this little aspect is we're gonna take our loop tape, which is the soft kind, the soft half of the hook and loop, and we're going to cut a 10-inch strip. which is double the measurement that we need. Because what we're going to do is make it so that it will double back on itself. So the idea is we've got our loop side here, and it'll be fed through the parachute buckle, just like we did with the webbing. And we're going to attach the hook part right and wrong side together. I'll show you in a minute. So that when we get it to the point where we can adjust it, that it will stick to itself, basically. And it will be like that. And then if you need to make it smaller, that you can pull it down, that sort of thing. So let's test our distance here. Yeah, so that'll work. All right. So we're going to cut another piece of the loop tape at 10 inches. And I found this technique on a woman's blog who was making straps for her kids' snowboard or skis. I think it was a snowboard and skis. She was trying to make a thing to bundle them all together for a trip, and didn't have time to go to the store. Like, they were leaving the next day and realized that they didn't own this thing. And so she made straps herself. And I appreciate that sort of thing. All right. As someone who makes her own things often, because I can't find exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is, yeah, okay. So I'm going to measure from what the folded over side is, because it will be very difficult to get the hook part to go through our little bend here. And we want it to be flat so that it has a nice surface to connect to. So, got our hook part here. And I'm going to start it right at the edge of where the parachute buckle opening is. And cut it there. Sorry, that was a weird angle, but so what I've done is that I've got it here, and it will line up like this. So we've got room to close it down. So I'm going to need 2 of those. 1 for each side. 1 for each buckle. Okay. Now I can put this off to the side, because it's very excited to be friends with anything that it can stick to. All right. So now what we're going to do, so we've got our hook tape, our loop tape and our hook tape pieces. And what the next step is going to be that we're going to stitch the hook on top of the loop, but it's the back of the hook on the front of the loop. So usually when you're sewing, you do right sides together or wrong sides together and turn it right side out. In this particular instance, what we're going to do is, because we're making this sort of sandwich, so instead of, and you could do it, if you wanted to do a lot of extra stitching, this is sort of the quick and easy way to do it. So you could use the webbing and stitch the hook tape onto the webbing and use that as your backing. But this is going to be something that's a little bit faster and a little more simple. And we're trying to keep this as simple as possible. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine, and this is the first time that I've done this with the new setup. So I'm going to see if I can move y'all over to the sewing machine so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. You can tell I was not prepared for this because I have red thread in my sewing machine. And I don't know where that bobbin went. Yeah. Well, hopefully it should only be a little bit, and it should be something that you could probably get away with gluing it, to be quite honest. But we want to make sure that it's going to work. So that is a terrible angle for y'all. I apologize. All right. And I know that it's going to be shaky when I run the machine. So, like I said, I was not prepared for this at all. But that's okay. So I'm just putting my black thread and bobbin into my machine. So this is, and it's also going to be very easy stitching. Hinder Mage, I know that you were a little concerned about that, but so just make this a rectangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch right along the edges. Doesn't have to be a fancy, like you can make it fancy curved if you want, but it doesn't have to be. So we're going to do just a regular around the edge thing. So let me thread my machine first because I'll be very sad to stitch with no thread. My sewing machine has a built-in thread cutter, but it sometimes will leave my thread uneven and makes it difficult to rethread for next time. So just cutting it a little bit off with a pair of scissors is a great way to have that nice crisp edge you need to thread a needle. So here's our hook tape and here's our loop tape. So I'm lining up the edges just like so. And I've got a straight stitch, which on my machine is a number 1 stitch. And so what that means is that the stitches are going to go in a straight line. They're not going to zigzag. They're not going to do anything fancy. So we put our presser foot down so that things stay where they're supposed to, and then just stitch forward. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to back stitch back the entire length of what we just did. Just so it's nice and secure. And we're already a quarter of the way done. So then we're going to go back. And then I'm going to pick up my presser foot and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Just like that. Yes. Yeah, we don't want to spend all that time. It's just like when the bobbin runs out and you get real sad because you got to go back and do it again. So we picked up our presser foot with the needle down and rotated around the needle 90 degrees. So we were in the perfect spot to keep stitching straight. Yep. Speaking of, the machine is very camera shy apparently. That's okay. Just do a quick check. Make sure that there's nothing else in there. I know, it's very dirty. Just clean it out. She didn't know she was going to be on camera today, so she didn't have time to get herself together. All right. Let's try that again. All right, and we'll go ahead and do a starter stitch. It's not something that you usually have to do with newer machines, but it's a good habit to have that I don't. So, all right. So, I don't know how well y'all can see that because of the black thread on the black Velcro, but we stopped right about here where our thread broke. So that's where we're going to start. And because the thread broke, we're going to want to do a back stitch just to secure in anything, any loose stitches that there might be. Now this is where, if you want to get fancy, you can do your little half circle, but we're just going to go around the edge. And again, while the needle is down, we're going to raise our presser foot and rotate 90 degrees. Now I'm going to go one more stitch so it's as close to the edge as I can possibly get it. There we go. Same thing, needle is down, we'll raise our presser foot, rotate another 90 degrees. And I like to make sure that any of my threads are out of the way as I'm preparing to move forward. And just go nice and slow. And now we're back to where we started, back stitch. So we can secure that in there. And pull it off the machine. This machine has a thread cutter right here, so I can cut my threads. If it doesn't, you can use scissors. And now we have our two pieces stitched together. So we'll do the same thing for the other strap, but for the sake of our project here, Oh, that worked out pretty okay. All right. That's if you have a live seamstress in your house, that is helpful. So the back stitch is there's a little button that will make the machine stitch backwards. And you don't have to do a lot of it. Just a half inch is really all you need most of the time, especially for a project like this. And if you feel really concerned, you could go around a second time with your stitching. I would not recommend using a serger for this, just because of the thickness of the material. So right now I'm just trimming up my threads. You should always trim up your threads. And I like to do it as soon as I finish putting something together so I don't forget, because otherwise I forget and then I get mad that I have to do it. So here's our piece. So we've got our hook tape here and our loop tape here, and it's stitched on in the back, so it's one continuous piece. So we'll take our parachute buckle that has the webbing on one end, and we're going to thread this through. I want to do it the other way, which is where the rounded edge would definitely come in handy, just to make it easier. But pull all the way through it, like so. And now we have our adjustable strap. So what this means is, and you could shorten it if you wanted to. So, as I'm looking at it and such. But basically what's going to happen, we're going to attach both pieces of the webbing down here. And then we're going to attach this side of the tape. The hook, the loop side, sorry. And so when those are attached, like that, when we put our arm through, that we can Velcro it down. So I may decide, we'll look at it after we get everything done, and we might shorten it a little bit. But it also won't hurt anything for this particular project if there is hook tape brushing against the back of the foam. So for the sake of simplicity, I think I'll just leave it like that. So yeah, we will attach the the loop side to the shield as well as the webbing, and be sure that when you do so that it has some space to it. So we will do that next time, since it is almost time to go. And let's check and see what our supports look like, and see if we're going to need to come up with something else on the fly. So it's all glued together now. So it does have still a little bit of wiggle to it, but it is definitely better than it was. And there's a little less bend, so it's nice and straight. So we will be putting our strap right here, and we'll connect that down, and then we'll paint. Then we'll put our plastic piece on top of the viewfinder, and then we'll put our trim around the edges, and then we'll be done. So we'll probably be able to get the straps installed, and at least our first layers of paint or so next week. So probably another 2 or 3 sessions, another 2 or 3 hours, because we're including things like drying time and stuff like that as well. If I was working on this project by myself, I would put the glue down, let it dry, and go do something else for a different project that I might be multitasking, or something else for this project if I was building something else for it. So, um, yeah, so having to wait on things to dry in real time does make things take a little bit longer. But yeah, my estimate is this is probably a 3-hour active work project where we spent an hour cutting, and then we'll spend an hour gluing and painting, which was what we did today, and then an hour doing the rest, doing the trim and any other details that we want to do. So that is my estimate of 3. Maybe we'll add another hour on there just to be safe, a 4-hour project. But as far as projects go, a pretty simple one that you could do really in an afternoon, um, including things like drying times. So that is going to be it for today. We do have some exciting stuff coming up soon for celebrating Pride Month, which is next month in June. And yeah, some super secret stuff going on there. So hopefully that will be ready to be announced next week. And yeah, so you can find us on the Geek Forge anywhere online except for Instagram, where we're Geek Forge, all one word. And we're on Etsy. We're on thegeekforge.org, which is our personal website. You can come hang out on Tuesdays at twitch.tv/masterofrem for Shadowrun time. We're moving into the 6th season of Shadowrun missions, and super excited to be hanging with a new crew. So that'll be lots of fun to see how that goes. And yeah, so we're here every Thursday. Maybe some more surprise Friday streams if y'all are into it. And otherwise, I will see you all next week. I hope you have a great weekend, rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.